don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman, because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Never! Never take it. Don't take it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. It is Sunday, May 25th, 2025. It is 9:03 p.m. Eastern. And this is the 456th episode of the Political Spotlight, the Memorial Day edition. I feel so discombobulated because I feel like next weekend should be Memorial Day. Does this not seem like it's a weekend early? Why is this weekend Memorial Day? I'm having a hard time understanding why. Is it really? It is Memorial Day. I know it is. I decorated graves today. What is happening here? Let's take a look at this and figure this out together. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I don't understand. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's so Memorial Day is supposed to be the fourth Monday. It's supposed to be the fourth Monday of the month. Is that the issue? Because next weekend, it's like next weekend is Friday. It is Friday the 30th, Saturday the 31st. Then we would be Sunday okay, so it's got to be the last Monday in May. So whenever the last Monday in May is, that's all right. We feel kind of discombobulated. And I'm not the only one. I know a lot of people. Les is saying it. Yeah, last Monday in May. So that's why it's tomorrow. Well, happy Memorial Day. Listen, before we get started, I do have to say, listen, it's a thing that we say in America, a lot of other places. Happy blank. Happy Memorial Day. When I say that, what I mean is have a happy holiday, have a happy time. Remember what the holiday is about. It's not just about cooking out and having a day off of work and getting drunk and the Indy 500, and it's not about the start of summer, and it's not about barbecue and beer and all of that and playing softball in the backyard. It is about those that gave all. It's not even about decorating the graves of people that we've lost to car wrecks and cancer and old age. It's not even about that. It used to be called Decoration Day, and it's to remember the men and women who have given all in all of our armed entanglements. So remember that. Remember the reason for the season, I guess. Okay. That would be good. While we are remembering the reason for the season, remembering what Memorial Day is, I do want to put this up on the screen for just a moment. This is Private David Williams. His family referred to him as DM. David Marvin. His middle name was Marvin. David Marvin Williams from Fentress County, Tennessee. Pall Mall is the little community. Fentress County, Tennessee. Private David Marvin Williams was born in 1923 in Pall Mall, Fentress County, Tennessee. And he was in the military, served in the Army, and unfortunately, he was killed in action with 4 other young men. They were all in the ages of 19, 20, 20, 24, 25. I think maybe 24, 25 was the oldest. Killed in action. This would be my an uncle, my great uncle, my grandmother, my grandmother, my grandpa that I help and do stuff with. My dad's parents. This is my grandmother's brother. She was tiny when he went to the military, and he was killed in action at Lours-sur-Mer, France. Lours, I can't ever say it. I can't ever say the first word right. Lours-sur-Mer, France, and it's kind of an interesting story. They actually his tale, the story of his and his battle buddies actually was told in a book that was published back in, I don't exactly know, 2010 or so, and it's a pretty cool story. I'm gonna pull this up here and let you guys see this. Jason's helmet. You can buy it on Amazon or read or whatever. Jason's helmet. The true story of a helmet's journey from the battlefield, home from the battlefield. And I think that I have the book. It's in the other room, but it's a pretty cool story. They have all of the men who were in this battle, and they were all killed. And basically, the families of these boys didn't truly know what had happened, and they just all kind of thought that they had been killed, maybe on D-Day, or maybe at some other time in the military. And what happened is this little village that Lours sur Marie. For those that are in the Muncie area, it would be similar to like Yorktown and Muncie. So like there's a big city, Muncie, and then there's a little town like Yorktown. And these group of individuals in this military unit called Spearhead, which the Jason was the lieutenant of, and my great uncle, Private David Marvin Williams, was in. They went there. The people are Private David William Marvins, S. Sergeant Levi Gudry Jr., Private First Class Jesse C. Price, Private First Class Michael Culp, Private First Class Arthur A. Hudson, and then obviously also the Jason, and he was the lieutenant, but they were killed holding back the enemy from getting to this big town until reinforcements could get up, and they had taken a bunch of fire, and they had held out for like several days, allowing the rest of the arm to get up to them to be able to fight back the enemy, which saved this bigger town. But unfortunately, these young men were all killed, and this town like treated them like they were just absolute heroes, and they had went out and they got what was left of the area. And I can show you here, this was a helmet of one of them, Jason, and the people in this village worked for years, well, from the end of the war until the early 2000s, and they were trying to reach out with the advent of the internet and social media. They started reaching out, and they contacted the families, these French people who couldn't speak English, and they got in contact of all of the family members, and they did this great big thing, and they put up a plaque over there. They did this great big here's Lieutenant Jason Barron. That was the first lieutenant. And they put up this big plaque for these people, for all of the big statue of the young men, and did this wild thing for these people, and actually got the helmet back to the family of the Jason, which is just amazing. Of course, all of them received Purple Hearts and other medals or whatnot, but this is definitely a pretty interesting story, which honestly changed. Here's David Williams, my great uncle. So yeah, it was First Lieutenant Jason Barron. I don't know what the S is. S Sergeant Levi Gudry, Private First Class Arthur Hudson, Michael Copel, Jesse Price, David Williams, and yeah, it shows there. Let's see here. Okay, DM was the youngest. Well, DM and Hudson. So yeah, pretty interesting thing. Here's my my grandmother's family, picture of them. Here's David with his brother Jack, and then here's all of them. There's my grandmother down here, very tiny here, and there's all her siblings. with DM there in the middle. So pretty cool thing. Here my grandmother is with all of her family. Obviously DM is not here because he had passed away, but during the war. But yeah, pretty cool thing. So it's definitely something that we do and give honor to the men and women that gave their all. And so again, I want to put that up there on the screen and just remember what the day is. And now, all right, let's get into the reason we're all here. Memorial Day might be for giving thanks and remembering those who gave all. But the political spotlight is for getting in trouble and talking badly about our corrupt and broken and dirty politicians. So if you were here on Friday, we did a special Friday show, and we were going to we talked about Grant County, and we were going to talk about the Prairie Creek situation. And we went long Friday, as I kind of thought we would, because Catherine was here. That's just what happens when Catherine's around. So I said, we'll have to get into it Sunday. So tonight in this episode 456, we're going to be talking about the Prairie Creek situation, and we're going to be getting into all of that. That's what the whole show is going to be about. So we're going to be talking about that. Before we get started, I do want to remind you all, if you have not, to smash that like button. Please smash it. Smash it so hard. Beat it silly. Give us a like. That helps us out. If you could do that, that would be so fantastic. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you subscribe and you do so, it does not cost you anything. It's free to subscribe. Click the bell so you get updated information. You get notifications when we go live, when I write out content on YouTube during the community place, when we release static videos or shorts. That's important to do that. Other than that, you guys know we're live 5 days a week, Sunday through Thursday at 9. That doesn't really change, but that's good. If you want to communicate with us, communicate over there. If you're watching us live, if you're watching us via replay in the future, comment down below. We will get back to you either way. And above all else, share the show with everyone you know. Help spread the word. And if you want to follow us on social media, there are our social media things. There's our links, everything there, phone number, whatever. And all of that's good. Kate is home. Thank God she is home, but she is still under the weather. I tell you, flown all over the world, but apparently that flight from the flight from Washington to Indiana is the worst flight ever, apparently. No, I'm kidding. She was having some sinus issues ahead of time and really congested and kind of nasally and temperature and headache thing. So she's dealing with that, and I'm sure the flight compounded that problem. Anytime I've ever flown, it's always given me really bad sinus issues. So she's still under the weather. I'm sure she will be back soon. We will hear from her again. And so, our thoughts and prayers with Kate while she recuperates and hopefully gets better soon. But so she is not here. So that's the reason none of the comments have been put up. Give me a second here. Let me go back here and take a look what we've got going on here. A man was complaining to a friend, I had it all: money, magnificent house, big car, the love of a beautiful woman. And then pow, it was all gone. What happened? Asked a friend. My wife, my wife found out. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Good evening, Alva, Paula, Glenda, Stumblefoot, Jeff, Joe, Chris. Chris said, how was the concert last night? Woo, boy, let me tell you, it was absolutely amazing. I put it up there with probably one of the best, definitely the top five or six or seven concerts I've ever seen, I've ever been to. It was amazing. The The weather was nice. It was beautiful weather. Temperature was just right. The music was good. A lot of good music that I'm familiar with. Some new music that I wasn't as familiar with. And I wasn't, all the way familiar with, but I really turned me on to some of that. And it was a really cool concept. Instead of a concert where you go to and they have like 3 acts, like, you've got your headliner, the person you're going to see, and then you've got the opening act. And then before that, they've got like the local house band that's on there playing, as people are walking in. They didn't do that. The concert started right at 8, and bam, the first song out of the gate was being sung by the main lead singer, the main band on the stage. And then they performed 3 songs, and then they flipped out. And what's happening is, on the stage, it's not like the bands are all just waiting backstage. They set up all of the band's instruments, and there were 3 different drum sets on the stage. There were 3 bands, A Perfect Circle, Primus, and Pussifer, and they were all on the stage together. And they had 2 couches off to the side where the other bands like hung out while the other bands were performing. They had the main band come out, play through 3 songs, and then the next act would come up and play through 3 songs, and then the third act come through and played through 3 songs, and then after that, they would come out and they would come out for another 2 or 3 songs, and then they started intermixing. You'd have a couple guys from one band jump in and play some songs from, with them, and then they would intermix, and they played. By the time they got to intermission, they did an intermission. They had already played 27 songs. They did an intermission, and then they went ahead and played for like another 2 hours. It was pretty awesome. So a lot of good music, awesome, very cool. And I was very excited. Brandon and I had a great time, and it was very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see here. Alva says, my uncle was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. After keeping everything to himself for the 43 years since returning from Nam in 72, he is sharing some of his stories. That's pretty cool, but very heartbreaking. Absolutely. My grandfather said it wasn't easy riding a Harley across German lines. I'm sure. Yes, we need proof of life of Kate. I don't know. I'm going to have to get with Niles and be like, yo, you got to send over a picture with. I literally was just texting with her, and it sounded as if it was her that I was texting with. I feel like it was probably her. So that's that. Shout out Bilbrey in chat. Hello, the realist. Awesome. Paula, Alva, and okay, so since it's just me, I'm gonna try to get the good comments put up and things like that if we can. But if we forget, please bear with me, because it's me and I don't normally look over, and I forget that. So I'll be watching it, but I always forget to put it up. So bear with me. She'll be back eventually. We'll be good. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going to start this by saying the Parks Board meeting, the Muncie Parks Board meeting was, real quick, before we go into the Parks Board, I am working on about 10 different things right now, all at one time. I am working on the Ed, and all right, so I'm working on the Ed and Chad Malacote, their private housing deal, the thing that they do outside of their outside of the public life, because I think that it ties into what they're doing as public officials, and I think there's an issue there. So we're working on that. I'm still working on getting the records from Henry County, working on getting some records from the City of Muncie, working on getting records from Delaware County. I've got records coming from Grant County. I'm working on the Grant County thing. and I am working on some stuff for the Indiana Economic Development Corporation and keeping them accountable. We're still working with some stuff on the state level, and we're working on putting together a show going through the lawsuit against the Union School, against the state of Indiana for Union School thing. We're going to be going through that and going through some state stuff here. The Indiana Economic Development corporation that needs brought down. It's just an absolute horrible entity. So we're working on all of that, and I've got you should see my my whiteboard. I need to bring it in here and start hanging it back up like I used to. But we're working on a bunch of things. So that's happening. I have been contacted by people from Grant County, and a couple of them said they were going to call me like yesterday, and a couple of them asked me to call. I didn't hear from the ones that said they were going to call, nor did I call the ones that said, I know that this is holiday weekend, so I and we had the concert. I'm going to be calling all of those people on Tuesday. If anybody that's out there, wants to call me tomorrow, do not hesitate. You are free to call me tomorrow. So if any of the Grant County people want to call me, have at it. I am not going to call anyone tomorrow because I don't want to ruin anybody's. I don't know what you're all doing, but I am telling you, any of the Grant County people, give me a holler tomorrow, and I will answer if you call. And I appreciate everyone reaching out. I've had a bunch of them reach out since we did that video. So thank you. And that's that. So yes, Alva, sound like mushroom music. Yes, sir, it did. Yes, sir, it did. All right. Without further ado, we will break in now to the Prairie Creek issue. So before this park board meeting back on Tuesday the 20th, I had started getting Facebook messages from people who were saying, hey, are you hearing about the rumor? The other thing that I have to mention, my grandparents take a nightly drive every evening. They've done it for years and years and years. Every afternoon, evening at some point, just in the day, they take a little drive, and they normally take a very like well-traveled path that's the path that they always take. And periodically I will go with them on this, and that path from time to time will take us out by the camping area of Prairie Creek. So some time back, I don't even know how long ago, some time back, I realized that Prairie Creek something was happening at Prairie Creek. I realized that they were putting up the fencing around the camping area, and they were not letting people go over to the trails. Okay. And it really shocked me when I first saw that. I was like, I wonder why they were doing that. So for you guys that don't know, for the people that don't know, okay, I will put this up because I know that there are obviously people here that are not 100% maybe from Muncie or don't know, and so everybody kind of gets an understanding of what we're dealing with. So if you're looking here on the map, all right, here I'm going to draw a circle around. Here's Muncie, okay? This bigger lot here is Delaware County, okay? And Prairie Creek Reservoir is this body of water here to Muncie's southeast. And if we bring Prairie Creek up right here, we can see this reservoir here. It is not, God didn't make this reservoir. This is a man-made reservoir. And this reservoir was made yes, I do want you to sign this, Catherine. Can you tell me what it says? No, it's not Chinese. I knew you could read this because it's Japanese. It's got Mount Fuji on it. Catherine, I knew it. I knew I would prove you were Japanese. I knew it. So, this was a man-made reservoir, and this is the City of Muncie's main drinking water. It is not owned by the City of Muncie. See, people have always, for a long time, people have always had this confused. Deep inside the City of Muncie, the Delaware County Fairgrounds, inside the City of Muncie, there is a plot of land where Delaware County owns the land, and they police it. So here's the Delaware County Fairgrounds, which is basically county property inside city limits. So if anything happens on this land, it's not the city police that deal with it, it's the county police. Well, that's similar to the Muncie Prairie Creek. This is city, basically. So if something happens out here, police, City of Muncie comes out. Very strange situation, but it is what it is, because it is kind of a little jog out from the city. You know, it's about a 10-minute little jog here. 10 minutes, maybe, lights and sirens. Anyways, it is currently, and has been for some time, been owned by Indiana American Water. And the deal has been the city leases Brandon. The city leases this from the water company for $1 a year. So it's a great deal. Now, over the years, they have really turned this into an event for the city. I mean, it's really grown. You know, I remember back in the mid 80s and before that, because this was the reservoir was put in sometime in the early to mid 70s. And we the city has used this and tried to make money off of it any which way it could. Okay. And you used to be able to take Jeeps and four-wheel vehicles and go carrying on, and trucks and all this. Used to do this. My dad would take me around, my uncle. It was a great time. Very fun. Here's the camping area. The camping's a big deal. And you can see these trails here, okay? There's these trails, and this is in a little wooded area. Well, these trails have been fenced off, completely fenced off, and people can't get through there anymore. And nobody understood. Indiana American Water has not really had anything to do with this for years and years and years and years and years. So I've been wondering, like, what is going on? I asked somebody if the city did that, and they were like, nope. And clearly on the signs, it says, you know, there's places where it tells you it's Indiana American Water property, and, you know, violators will be prosecuted, no trespassing. They shut it all down. And so there's been a lot of rumors floating around, because they are like, you know, we don't know what's happening here. Well, at this park board meeting, we will get here and let you hear what's going on. So that's how we start the story. And let's see here. Oop. Okay. Yeah, I think I was wrong. Prairie Creek Reservoir, primarily known for water storage facility and recreational area in Muncie, was created by constructing the earthen dam across Prairie Creek in the late 1950s. The dam, completed in 59, was built by the Muncie Water Works Company to provide water reservoir reserves for the growing city. The reservoir and surrounding parkland offer a variety of activities, including boating, fishing, swimming, and hiking. Not no mo. Not no mo. In 1957, the Muncie Water Works Company proposes plans to build an earthen dam across Prairie Creek. 1958-59, construction of the dam begins, with some properties needing to be demolished and to make way for the reservoir. 59, the dam is completed. 59-60, the City of Muncie and the water company agree on a lease for the city to operate recreational areas of the reservoir. In 1960s, the city begins developing recreational areas and facilities. 2022 and present, the Cook Family Educational Center is developed and opened at the reservoir. So that's that. So thank you, David, for that information, because I was a little off there. Okay, let's get started with this this City of Muncie meeting. And yes, Kiff, I will get with Whitty. I heard him say that. I mean, I understand why he said it about that. I think he knows she's a little out there, but I will chat with him about that, because yeah, there's definitely a problem there.
Call to order this Muncie Park and Recreation Board meeting, Tuesday, May 20th. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Chandler Park.
Here.
James Layton.
Here.
Mark Irvin.
Here.
Shannon Powers.
Here.
Brad Marshall.
Here. Next on the agenda, we've got the approval of the minutes from our past meeting. If there's no discussion or amendments that need to be made, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we do have a presentation from the Indiana American Water. As many of you may know, they are the landowners out at Prairie Creek. We've got an agreement with the city for quite a few years now. I think they're going to detail some of that, but had been a while since they came and spoke to us and wanted to get some information in front of us and the public as well.
Technology is great when it works. Well, good evening. Thanks for having us this evening. My name is Wade Amos. I'm the Director of Operations for Indiana American Water. To my right here is Chris Gosnell. She's our water quality lead for the state. She's going to help tag team this presentation with me. Also present, we have Jim Henderson. He's our Eastern Indiana Operations Manager, responsible for Muncie, Richmond, and Winchester. And then Joel Reuter, he's our External Affairs Manager. So thanks for having us. Before we get into the slide deck, I just wanted to kind of help, hopefully, squash some rumors that I know that are going around, which are that we are considering, shutting down all public access to the reservoir. I know that's out there. Social media is good at rumors from time to time, but that's far from the truth. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage before we even get going here. But I want it to be known we value the relationship and the partnership that we have with the City of Muncie and the City Parks Department.
Okay, I got to pause right here for a second and just say, there have been some pretty heavy rumors floating around that this gentleman here and the Indiana American Water Company and Dan Ridenhour do not get along. Period. I have heard that from multiple sources. I have heard that from sources that I generally would say know what they're talking about. Sources who, when they give me information in the past, I have vetted it. It's people who have almost never given me false information. Now, I did ask the communications director of the City of Muncie if there is any truth to hostile feelings between either the city and the water company, or the water company and the city, vice versa, whichever way. Excuse me, the communications director said that is not true. Not true. That they get along grand. This gentleman here saying they get along grand. But when he said it, it didn't feel, this presentation right here at the beginning seemed a little off. It seems like they're trying to, because I know that these people are getting inundated with calls and concerns. Okay. So I think they're trying to alleviate some of that. Do I think that they're going to shut everything down at the reservoir? No, I don't think that's going to happen. Do I think that they're getting along with Ridenhour? I think they probably have a professional working relationship. Do I believe that they like Dan? I could see them not liking. I think a lot of people have a hard time liking Dan. I know his Dan addicts and those people, the hangers on, the followers, they do. But Dan is a weird person to talk to and communicate with. And I could see these people being like, what the hell? So, you know what I mean? Yeah, Stumblefoot. I mean, that's the thing. I because they say that, I say like, oh yeah, everything's okay here. Nothing to see here. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. I just don't buy that. So time will tell.
We really wish for nothing more for the public today, for generations to come, to truly enjoy the recreational value that the reservoir brings. But in doing so, we have to find that balance between recreation and what the reservoir is and what it was intended to be, which is the primary drinking source for the city of Muncie. So, tonight I vow that we're kind of opening a new chapter here with the city of Muncie. We've kind of been disengaged a little bit over the years. Maybe you could argue maybe over the past decade or more.
Yes, no question. I mean, it's more or less like they have just been non-existent over the last, and I would even say maybe 2 decades. It's been, however, I mean, it's been a very long time since whoever's been in charge has been in charge and been like, hey, let's see what's going on here. Basically, the city has been left to rock and roll as they please, for good or bad.
And so tonight we want to reinvest ourselves and recommit ourselves to the city of Muncie and really move this partnership forward. In doing that, though, we really have to pay attention to how do we balance recreation and the benefits that the reservoir brings the community, but also as that drinking water source. So that is, our business, and that's what we're focused on, but we want to find the balance, and that's what we're committed to. So slide deck, Joel.
Before we get too far, will this be available for the board and to go in the minutes as well?
We have some one-pagers that we're going to put out in the back of the room when we're done. Not necessarily the presentation, but it's basically all in there. We can talk about that. It's probably not an issue, but we definitely have a 2-page document which summarizes.
You're sharing this in the meeting. It now has to be public record. I'll be requesting a record on this.
These first slides are really just a little bit
tomorrow.
Of history on Prairie Creek. We started in business here essentially back in 1885. This is one of our longest standing utilities in the state of Indiana. Almost 140 years we've been operating here. And it was in the late 1950s that demand became such that, there's not a ton of water in the ground in eastern Indiana. So we built Prairie Creek Reservoir back in the late 50s, came online in 1960. And then we entered into an agreement with the city offering recreational
$10 a
opportunities,
year.
sharing, the value of the reservoir with the city. And so we've had this agreement for, I'm not real good at math, but I think it's 64 years. I won't read all of this, but, the reservoir provides.
Who's willing to bet they want more money? How much money do you think they want? So this lease is now the Muncie Water Works Corporation in 1961, a 60-year lease was signed. 71, 81, 91, 01, 11, 21. So where are we at with this lease? Are we outside of the lease and we're just going year to year, we paying them $10? What are we doing? What are we doing here? I would be interested to know what's happening there. And are we currently negotiating a new lease?
7.2 billion gallons of water, and we currently provide no, that's on the next slide, but the intent
Next slide.
of the agreement was for the purpose of establishing recreational facilities for the public in the city of Muncie and surrounding areas. So,
Yeah, this is no longer, I like down there at the bottom, it says for official use only, confidential and proprietary. No. It's released now in this meeting. I want a copy of it. They're gonna have to give me a copy.
Joel, if you want to go to the next slide. I mentioned that groundwater is not real plentiful in eastern Indiana. Hence, we have a reservoir in Kokomo. We have the reservoir here in Muncie. We have the reservoir in Richmond. 70% of the water that we provide the city of Muncie comes from Prairie Creek. We discharge from the reservoir into White River, and from there we take water into our plant and then distribute it to the rest of the water system. Roughly 80,000 residents, if you count are your seasonal residents at Ball State. So roughly 80,000 folks we serve most of the year. And to the tune of about 7.5 million gallons of water a day. Joel, you can go to the next slide.
Wow.
So, as I said, this agreement's been in place since 1961. According to our records, there's been 3 basic addendums to the agreement. The first was in 1996, and we'll talk a little bit more about this too. We enrolled most of the acreage, at least on the west side of the reservoir, into Indiana's classified forest program, wildlife program, I think it is. In 2012, we did an addendum. We extended the agreement to 2072. I don't plan to be here when this expires, but we've got a long way to go to get there.
Okay. Here we go. 1996, an addendum was created. An addendum created acreage set aside for classified wildlife habitat managed by the DNR. April of 2012, an addendum extended the lease to the city of Muncie until April 3rd, 2072, and modified the 15 horsepower limit. December 2013, an addendum granted certain rights to Muncie Sailing Club. All improvement changes must be approved by Indiana American Water. Conditions must be kept neat, clean, safe, with primary intention that Prairie Creek Reservoir is to serve the community as a source for safe, clean, and reliable drinking water. And many existing uses of the reservoir and surrounding property are not within the spirit of the original lease. Oh, so they're going to come in here smacking the hands of the city here, I guess. That's not good. Now, I want to tell you right now, I am all for The reservoir. The reservoir has been a diamond in the rough, if you want to call it. It's an amazing thing, and I want people to be able to use a reservoir. My family utilizes the reservoir. I want to tell you right now, I do not have campground and I do not have a dock. I have family members that have a dock at the Prairie Creek, and they have a pontoon at Prairie Creek. My family has a home area on Lake Cottage up north where there's a speedboat and yada, yada, yada. But Prairie Creek, there's just it's just to mill around and fish and enjoy some water. Being close here to Muncie, it's very easy to get to. But I have an aunt that has an aunt. My parents and my aunt basically share a space out there, basically. So that's that. As far as camping, I've never done that. I've got friends that camp out there, but I've been out there for a couple things in the evenings, but I don't do any of that. And I want those people to be able to be everyone that camps out there to have fun and to be safe, and I want that to be able to be contained. But my number one goal is safe water to drink. I don't want anything bad to happen with the water, and that has to be the primary goal, and it has to be the primary goal of everyone. So if we can make sure that we can do things safely with the water being the primary goal, everything else I'm ready to rock and roll with. Outside of, first and foremost, it has to be the safe water drinking for everyone. And if we can then operate something out there with that in mind, have at it. If something that we're operating is running counterintuitive to that, then that's a problem. I just want to put that on the record.
47 years. Again, there's my math coming into play. And it was at that time, the original agreement had a 15 horsepower limit on the reservoir. And it was at that point that we amended that reg. And then again in 2013, there was an additional addendum which gave certain rights, which I don't know all the details to that, to the sailing club out there on the reservoir. So
Stumblefoot.
Where we get into some struggles is the agreement stated that any sort of facilities that were to happen at the reservoir would have to be approved by us. Going back 60 years, we have some records of some things being approved. My gut is that a lot of things were approved verbally, handshakes, sure, go for it. A lot of sure, go for it's turned into, what we have today, which there's a lot of value in the, recreational benefits of the reservoir. But the other condition that's, and this is verbiage straight from the agreement, that the conditions must be kept neat, clean, and safe with the primary intention that Prairie Creek is to serve the community as a source for safe, clean, and reliable drinking water. So that's been the focus from day one, right? What we have today are a lot of uses around the reservoir that probably, not only are they not in the spirit of the original agreement, they're really not to the language of the original agreement. And I could give you some examples of that, but the best example I think is the campground. According to our records, I think it was 1989, we have on record a drawing that you see at the top right of the screen, which called for 50 campsites. And now we're at 230 odd campsites, if I'm not mistaken. So, how did we get there? I wasn't here. I can't speak to it, nor were probably any of you. So, that's kind of where we have, and there's more details that we'll provide here in just a moment, but those are the kind of things that we're looking at that we want to work through and figure out collectively together. Okay. Being the primary source of drinking water for the city of Muncie, and you go out and you assess what's going on around the reservoir, it does bring pause to us as the water purveyor in the community. Again, the campground, the top left, and I'm going to work left to right, starting at the top. You have what we know, and I think all of you all know, that an inadequate wastewater system around the reservoir that's been cited multiple times, I believe, by the State Department of Health. We have ATV usage down on the southeast side of the reservoir that, you know, from an environmental perspective, is not very friendly. And if you've been out there and you can see this photo, it's quite disturbed from its normal state, natural state. On the right side up there, we have the horseman element that operates on the west side of the reservoir, coming down just directly below the two horses there. That photo is of a campground that I believe used to be the Model Boat Club, if I'm not mistaken, property. But I believe is inhabited by those folks, which we love horses. We have nothing against horses, but we're of the opinion that both the ATVs and the horses are not a use that are really compatible along the banks of a drinking water reservoir. The center picture on the bottom, and I believe this is being worked through. I've talked to the mayor, talked to Mark and others, private property owners who have kind of made their own little lakeside estates on our property that is intended to be, I believe, part of the lease. So in some cases not. Clear cutting and really creating some environmental hazards with the reservoir, erosion, sedimentation, things of that nature. And then on the bottom left, the boats. You know, there are a lot of boat docks on a 1,200 acre lake. I don't think there's been any new boat docks added in the last several years. I know that this group has been replacing what was there, the old docks, the old wooden docks with maybe composite. But undoubtedly, there's a lot of boats on 1,200 acres, which again brings us a little bit of pause and concern.
Wow. I didn't even hear all that issue
I am
until right
going
now.
to, so, you know, being in the business of water and clean quality water, I'm going to turn it over to Chris. She's going to present to you some data that we've acquired and some other concerns that have resulted from that.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. As Wade said, I'm Chris Gosna. I'm the Senior Manager of Water Quality and Environmental Compliance for Indiana American. I want to start by kind of talking about Indiana American Water's Source Water Protection Program. Source water protection is a key component of our business. We have been expanding our program over several years. A key factor and component of source water protection is collaboration, which is a large part of why we're here tonight, and really a lot of what Wade was alluding to as far as really wanting to work with the city, the Parks Department, and our other partners to make sure that we are taking care of our source water now so it's sustainable in the future. As I said, collaboration really is key and maybe even the most important part of source water protection. We also have several different components here where are the backbone of source water protection. The first here is identifying the risk. So that's the awareness, right? We need to have the visibility. As Wade said, over the last several years, maybe even decade, we should have been potentially more involved out in the reservoir, had more awareness, better monitored the situation. So we will be doing that moving forward, additional site visits, awareness, and surveying. We have been conducting sampling, which we'll be sharing the result summary of that sampling in a few slides. We will continue to monitor the health of the reservoir. We have analytical tools, both at a local level, but we also have our American Water, who is our parent company, Central Lab in Belleville, Illinois. And we have a really great research and development team with expertise that is utilized across the board of across the American Water footprint. And then we also have source water monitors at every one of our source water, surface water intakes. So we have one located on the White River at our intake. Those monitors are online analyzers. They analyze for different compounds such as pH, conductivity,
you're right.
Dissolved oxygen, turbidity, things that we want to just keep an eye on, because if we see a significant change, we can hopefully react in time and adjust treatment so that we don't actually see any negative results in our finished water. Second one there is education. That's, again, a big part of why we're here tonight, is to make sure that we are educating the city, educating the park board on some of the things that we're seeing out in the reservoir.
Educating the public.
In addition, we are actively involved in the community. We participate in the White River cleanup, and we have for years. We have our American Water Charitable Foundation, which does provide grants, and we've partnered on a few things associated with that in Muncie. And then we participate in what's called our Americans in Action, kind of playing off the American Water name. And we volunteer in a partnership with the Red Tail Conservancy. We've actually been working on the west side of the reservoir, eliminating invasive species within the watershed. And then finally, ongoing monitoring, and I'll take that farther and say ongoing management of the watershed. That will continue to be through monitoring, but also partnerships and collaboration, as we've discussed with the city and other local groups, and planning. We have several ways that we have been and will continue to plan our source water protection activities. We have what is called a source water threat minimization plan. We have put that together with IDEM, which is the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and the IFA, which is the Indiana Finance Authority. That provides a list of potential contaminant sources that can potentially affect the source water. We also utilize a system called WaterSuite. It's an online platform that has a GIS component that allows us to then map the potential contaminant sources, look at how close they are to our intakes, what's on site, contact information, and even goes as far as mapping how long it'll be till it gets to our intake and treatment options for us. And then we have cyanotoxin plans, which is really a big part of why we're here tonight.
Okay.
They dictate scheduled monitoring, analysis, and treatment strategies for our surface water sources. So I want to share with you a case study. This slide is a case study on Grand Lake St. Mary's. This is in Ohio.
Yeah.
This is a town that is about 65 miles northeast of Muncie. This is a man-made reservoir, about 13,000 acres. This is a worst case scenario. So I will preface this. You can see the green water there on the bottom. They had a microcystin HAB event, which I'll talk a little bit about what that means on the next slide. And it did create this green paint-like map on the surface of the water.
Yep.
This was due to years of agricultural runoff and residential pressures, and that resulted in pretty much the reservoir not being usable. Homeowners of Grand Lake St. Mary's, they had a loss of $51 million in home values over 6 years. And then there was also financial implications to the town. Parks, sorry, I cannot read from here, from recreation and tourism and local businesses.
Oh my
Fortunately,
God.
they have implemented some positive things, watershed protection efforts, and other educational components, and really have started to see an improvement in the reservoir, although it is still not used for swimming. Again, I'm not saying that this is where Prairie Creek Reservoir is at. Fortunately, we are not there, but what we do want to do is make sure we're putting forth the proper source water protection efforts now, change course, and get ahead of it and make sure this isn't where we end up. So this next slide, I want to kind of step back before we get into it. This is kind of a summary of what we've seen in 2024. You can see some photos of Prairie Creek and as well as White River there, as well as a sample. I'm going to do a little bit of definitions before we get into this. I'm going to talk about cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria is often commonly referred to as blue-green algae. It's frequently found in fresh water, and it can form thick mats and produce harmful toxins, which are referred to as cyanotoxins. These thick mats or colonies are known as harmful algal blooms or HABs. Health effects of toxins can be acute, or they can be chronic. And for the purpose tonight, I'm going to be talking about microcystin, which is a specific type of cyanobacteria or cyanotoxin that is produced that we have seen in the Prairie Creek Reservoir. So as I mentioned, we do have cyanotoxin management plans. They dictate the frequency of the monitoring and their preventative proactive plans. So we set up a monitoring schedule. We monitor more frequently during warm weather months. So May through September, we are out there more frequently monitoring, and that's because the temperatures are higher and more likely to have algae events. Starting around May of 2024, we started to see the algal levels becoming noticeable. As I said before, it's not uncommon for fresh water, but the timing of this event is becoming earlier and earlier each year. And we're seeing some surface scumps that we were not previously seeing in prior years. Sampling was conducted in May in the main lake. And when I say main lake, Prairie Creek Reservoir on the historic ADA pier on the west side of the campground. So hopefully everybody is more familiar than I am with that area and knows what I'm talking about there, but out on the pier on the west side of the campground. That sampling did show detections of microcystin, so cyanobacteria. We've also seen taste and odor compound trends increasing over the last several years, specifically geosmin. Now that is an aesthetic concern, not a health concern. I want to very clearly make sure everybody understands that, but it does lead to musty odor. So if you've been out to the reservoir and you notice something like that, that very well could be those geosmin levels, and we have seen them increasing. They're not a direct indicator that there's a cyanotoxin or HAB event going on, but they can be a leading indicator. Then we go to June, and we saw the first indicator of a harmful algal bloom. This was determined by both our internal cyanotoxin sampling as well as visible indicators, and we were seeing a change in our treatment demands. And then in July, we received a request for increased land use associated with the campground wastewater system and expansion there. And then we also became aware of the health department inspections that Wade mentioned. So we decided to do some additional monitoring. We monitored for nitrates, total coliform E. coli, and cyanobacteria. The samples were collected due south of the campground,
Yes.
south of the dump station, and due west of the campground in the area of the pier that I mentioned before. We saw a high spike in nitrates and also algal growth following the 4th of July weekend. So directly after that, it does appear there was a direct correlation between the campground usage and the reservoir water quality. In August 24, we did additional monitoring throughout the reservoir, and samplings continued to show detects of nitrates, total coliform, and microcystin, specifically in the cove immediately south of the campground. And in mid-September, those are the photos that you're seeing there. We saw a significant water quality impact at our intake on the White River, and then also in Prairie Creek. So on the left is Prairie Creek, on the right there is the White River. Fortunately, our intake pipe is below the surface, and we were able to treat for any kind of levels of concern. So all the water going out the door, finished water going to the community, was not detected for any kind of cyanotoxins. However, this is concerning to us because we hadn't seen something like this historically. You can go to the next one. I know this is very hard to see. This is an US EPA slide on cyanotoxins and their potential health effects. This is why it matters. I guess I want to tie this in. This is why it matters that we're seeing these cyanotoxins in our source water. Exposure routes of cyanotoxins can be ingestion, thermal, and inhalation. EPA has set drinking water health advisory 10-day levels of 0.3 parts per billion for infant and preschool children and 1.6 parts per billion for school-age children and adults. So to put this in perspective, 1 part per billion is comparable to about 1 drop in a 10,000 gallon tank. So a very small amount can potentially cause health effects, adverse health effects. And for microcystin, which is only what I'm going to talk to since that's what we've directly seen, and that is the first one listed, even though I know everyone can't see that. The health implications can be stomach pain and digestive issues, headaches, respiratory issues, blistering around the mouth, and pneumonia. And on the green on the other side, you can see kind of an overall picture of other health effects that are associated with some of the other cyanotoxins.
Wow.
I will stress and reiterate again, we've not seen any detox in our finished water. So the water going out the door has not had detox of any cyanotoxins.
We don't want to see it.
There are other cases where communities have not been so lucky, such as Grand Lake St. Mary's, and we want to make sure we're staying ahead of this and creating a sustainable resource for the community for both a drinking water perspective and a recreational perspective. So I'm going to turn it back to Wade to talk about the path forward.
Okay, and here we go, Stumblefoot. I believe it's a homeowner has entered the building, and let's see him give the death eyes, the death stare.
So,
Dude, why is he
the path forward is
staring
correctly
like
thinking
that?
about it,
That's
right?
so
And
weird.
Trying to find the balance between it and the recreational value that the lake brings. So, we're committed, as I said earlier. We want to increase our collaboration with you. We want to increase our collaboration with other partners and stakeholders, whether it's the Friends of Prairie Creek, Soil and Water Conservation District, State Department of Health, anybody else who's out there that is a stakeholder in the reservoir.
What's
those are
he
folks we want
doing?
to engage with, right? And that's our intent as we move forward. How that looks and when that happens soon.
It looks as if he's going to like tackle him. I mean, we know he doesn't. He yells here a little bit, but it looks like, he's getting ready to jump out of his chair. Dude, settle down.
But that's something that needs to be ongoing as we manage the reservoir going forward. We are committed to working with the city and the Parks Department.
You can't make me manage my land on your land.
On finding a solution for the wastewater system as soon as possible. And we'll be in touch with the city soon and start that conversation. But what we
I'm
have
going to
today,
lick my lips and make my nose do a thing that the little mouse does on the cartoons.
word that's been used, provided to me by the State Department of Health is the holding tank is porous, right? So that means the water that's going in, the waste that's going in has high likelihood of leaching out into the reservoir. And that's something that we want to stop. So,
dude, what did this dude just do? Like a hit of meth outside? Like, my God. He's making me nervous looking at him.
Improving the wildlife habitat. So you'll see on the map.
Look at his legs going, dude. It's like he's doing a blast beat on a double bass pedal. Look at his feet.
There, the green acreage is property that we have enrolled in the classified wildlife program. There's a yellow segment up at the top right of the map there. That is acreage that until last fall was in row crop. We've since terminated the lease with the producer there.
Oh no, take this off. I want to see the guy.
With some partners locally, talking with the Nature Conservancy, we've worked with them in other areas, looking at planting trees or other sort of vegetation to really, enhance and bring it back to its natural state. The acreage down at the bottom left, those are the ATV trails. And, if you jump down to, in that third bullet, we are of the position that we're going to discontinue both the ATVs and the horse riding that happens on the west side of the reservoir. The horse, both bring problems environmentally. The camping that's occurring with the horses, that's not sanctioned. The State Department of Health decided that it would need some sort of a wastewater system, on that side of the reservoir, and we don't want another wastewater system on that side of the reservoir. So at the end of 2025, we're in the position that.
Now, I got to say this. I don't understand. I get the ATVs, a gas and oil and things like that or whatever. I guess I don't understand how horses cause issues. Maybe they're going to tell us. Maybe someone smarter than me is going to tell me. I guess I'm just confused.
That this will be the last season for both ATVs and the horse trails and the horse camp on the west side of the reservoir. We're committed to enhancing other recreational opportunities. In fact, just last week, we met with Carl Malone. I can't remember, Flatland Resources, I believe, talking about phase 3.
You can't stop. I mean, what about all the bird shit and the fish shit and all the shit that's just in the water? And what does I don't understand. Erosion.
Of some trails on the east side of the reservoir. We're committed to that. There's some conversations I think we need to have around, maintenance plans and things of that nature, making sure that they're secure and safe for the folks that are going to use them. But we're committed to those sort of activities. I don't want to, suggest we're not. Those are the kind of things that we definitely want to support moving forward, and we're committed to that. Ultimately on the campground and the boating, we want to assess what is sustainable. How many boats can this reservoir sustain safely and, from a water quality perspective as well. And the same goes with the campground. What are the number of sites that the property can successfully sustain without causing any sort of additional water quality issue. So that is part of this whole collaboration that was in the first bullet. That's a conversation that we want to have. And we want to engage folks who are professionals in this, not that the local parks department's not, but there are folks who work in that realm and can probably aid and assist us in trying to figure.
No, they're not a natural element of the reservoir, but they are a natural element of the earth. And what about if they were just walking along the trail in the water? I guess I need to understand that.
What is a sustainable number of boats? What is a sustainable number of campsites? The encroachment issue, I think I alluded to earlier, I think a lot of that has been solved relevant to the adjacent landowners and the private docks that were installed. There's other.
Hey, Kiff, here's your proof of life. Right here. Well, I guess it's technically not a proof of life. It's just Kate texting. It could be Kate's husband doing that, or maybe even me, because you can't see my hands currently. So I guess it's not technically a proof of life, but they were saying that we need a proof of life because Kiff said that. It's people. What are we saying here? It's people piss and shit while camping out on horse rides overnight that he's talking about. It's piss. Okay, we're gonna have to find out. I didn't know anybody that did the horse things camped overnight. I don't know.
Forms of encroachment that have happened. I think up there on the northeast side of the reservoir on that map, just to the west of the yellow polygon, there's a lot of trails in there that I don't believe were built or sanctioned by the city of Muncie. It just seems like there's a lot of things going on in there. And again, that's land that's enrolled in the classified wildlife program. So it's that sort of encroachment also that we're interested in ceasing. And I know we've put up some fencing to try and keep folks out of there, but it needs to remain in its natural state unless we have an approved, thought out trail system, which by all means could happen on that northeast segment. But for now, we want to do what we can, working with you to make that stop. And then finally, strengthen and sustain measures and controls. With the trails, do we have the maintenance dollars necessary? The security in place that we can rest assured that whatever we put in is safe for the public to use. And that's, again, something that we'll want to work with the Parks Board and the city and other partners on. But this is today our path forward. I know there's not a lot of clarity with the exception of the ATVs and the horses. And again, I want to reiterate, we have nothing against ATVs and we have nothing against horse folks. There's a place for those activities, and we firmly believe it's not around a drinking water reservoir. The collaboration is going to provide a lot of solutions down the road, and that's something that we want to engage with the city on sooner than later, for sure.
That's a real wild way to say that. We have no problem with horses and ATVs. There is a place for it, and we absolutely believe it is not around a reservoir. Yeah.
So that concludes our presentation. I don't know if you all have any questions.
Appreciate you guys coming in. I think as you alluded to, long overdue from both sides, us engaging with you guys and you guys following up with us. There have been a lot of handshakes over the course of history out there.
I believe it.
And this is kind of lines out with what we've done the last couple of years is
Here's what my fear is. Exactly what Kiff just said. Ding, 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 ding. Let's talk tinfoil hat here for just a moment, shall we? Can we? What if this is wildly contaminated? I mean, hey, look back and ask yourself, how many people around Muncie have cancer? The people in my dad's class or in my uncle's class, the class of like 77, 76, 78, right around and through there. All those people, man, so many people. There's so many people that's died of cancer in the class of 78 from Cowan. Like they don't even they do reunion with like 2 or 3 years ahead of them now. There's only like a handful of them left. My thing is, oh my God, hold on, you better pop up there long enough for them to see it because I don't know if they believed it was you. She is alive.
I have the plague and I'm jet lagged, but I can't.
What is
sleep.
wrong with you besides the jet lag?
I spent 3 weeks in Washington in 50-degree weather with constant rain, so I have a head cold.
Okay.
So
you sound horrible. What are you doing here?
This fantastic postnasal drip that makes it impossible to go to sleep, despite the fact that I'm like falling asleep, sitting here watching you. If I'm upright, I can sleep. Yes. But then I end up flat, and then I start coughing. It's not good. So I figured I'd come in here and annoy you.
Yeah, well, you sound bad. I hope you get feeling better, but
I thought that whole being sick thing was supposed to make you sound kind of sexy.
Yeah,
it just makes you sound like ass, but whatever.
Well, I hope you get feeling better, and we're glad that you're back. And I missed the window there.
I know. I'm back in Indiana. Woo!
Well, have fun.
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying the meeting though. So let's keep going.
Yeah. All righty, here we go.
Establishing some rules, working on some education out there, and focusing on our safety and the amenities that we have. A lot of information there to digest. I know there's been some conversations with yourself and the mayor and the team downtown, and Carl as well. Appreciate that, and appreciate you guys coming before the board.
No, but going
I
back
do want to
to
add one more thing, if you don't mind. We have a
going
new
back to what Kiff said, it's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting to see like what the deal is there, but then we've got this. How many homes and trails around the 2 water reservoirs in Indy? So that's going to be the thing. Do they? I would assume Indy doesn't allow ATV stuff, but do they allow horses? It's going to have to be comparable. We're going to have to look at this and see what the deal is. That's a pretty good question there.
state president. His name's Barry Suits. He comes to us from Maryland and Virginia, our operations out there, and they've constructed recently some reservoirs. Reservoirs don't get constructed a whole lot in today's world. And when he came to Indiana just a few months ago, and I talked to him, giving him the lay of the land, right? We own 3 large reservoirs in Indiana that are used, and he was mind blown because it's not common in today's world at American Water that if we build a reservoir, they essentially get a fence put up around it, right? And that is absolutely not on my agenda or anybody else's here agenda or Indiana American Waters in general. But we do want to, again, find that balance. So.
Well, I think this is certainly the first step. I know there's going to be continued conversations here. Any comments or questions from the board?
I do have one question. On the private properties encroaching,
Yes.
whose responsibility is to enforce that? Is that like the park board or the parks department or the city or the water company?
Well, I believe, as I understand it, the parks department is put the docks there, providing that private access, which again is not in the spirit of public access, right? That's a dock strictly for that private property. We can have.
He's asking about homeowners.
Hey, sir,
Sorry.
please respect the speaker that has the floor.
So who's responsible for enforcing that? It sounds like the Parks Department has removed or not reinstalled the docks this spring. In terms of that property, that belongs to Indiana American Water. And if it's a matter of working in partnership or if Indiana American Water would.
No, Indianapolis reservoirs do not allow horse trails. Beginning January 1st, 2026, both ATV and horse trails will be discontinued and returned to a natural state under DNR's Classified Wildlife Program, according to Indiana American Water. This applies to all Indianapolis reservoirs, including according to IN.gov. That's interesting.
We would
I like
definitely.
the clear cutting and stuff like that is basically what I'm asking.
Yeah. That's our property. Those are, our trees. We can absolutely spearhead that.
I think that's one that we're going to definitely need help and support from you guys as we move forward. And
I'm glad to do
some of the new policies and the partnership we've got is how do we maintain these and provide security and postings and notices. Like you said, there's been a lot of history out there. A lot of things have happened historically. We've got a limited budget for Prairie Creek. I think you may know, and I think most people here, that Prairie Creek in itself is self-sustaining. The funds out there provide for Prairie Creek. So that's a limited budget for what we can do. So any support in those regard would be very greatly appreciated.
We can make that at the top of the list when we get together and start collaborating.
Yes,
Jack,
yes,
that's
true.
something we can dive deep into.
Do you have a timeline on when you'll be able to provide us an assessment on the campsites and docks?
That's something we're going to do not in the shadows. That's something we want to do openly with whoever from the Parks Department and the city. We want you to be part of that conversation. We don't want to just come and prescribe this is it. I think we've got some ideas on how we can do that, how we can get to that number and assessment. But again, that's not something that we intend to do in a vacuum.
Okay.
And we as the park board, can we have a seat at that table on all those discussions?
Absolutely. We want you there, at least one seat.
Any other questions from the board? I do have one you might not have an answer for. I've kind of looked in the history books there, and you mentioned the 15 horsepower and the 20-mile-an-hour limit. What's the history there? Or do you know how that shifted or what the intention of that was?
I don't. I know, that horsepower limit originally, and then the subsequent 20 mile an hour, that is recorded through, and I'll get this wrong, the Natural Resources Division of DNR.
Mhm.
So that is actually recorded in Indiana code. That's a legal process that happened once we gave the blessing to bump it up. Then that got recorded in the code, and I'm not an attorney. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I don't know how that came to be. I mean, I know as time went on, I boat myself, and 15 horsepower boat motors are pretty much non-existent. They're electric. So I would assume that kind of is what, led down the path. But yeah.
The other question that I've got is I know we've got one open project out there that we're working towards, the trail system and the expansion of that, the multi-use trails, and then also forward to any other improvements or collaborations out there. As we move through this, I think we need to make a clear path for how we interface as a board, as a city, and the water company to get things documented and approved moving forward.
I think as we begin this collaboration and come together, we can develop some sort of a formal process, if you will, as to, hey, this is what we want to do. And there'll be a review process for that. And, no more handshakes, right? We'll do everything in writing and get it recorded as such. And to me, that's the cleanest way. And, when I'm gone and Jim's gone and somebody else is, and you folks are all gone, there's records to go back to, right? And understand how we got to where we're at. That's what's missing, unfortunately.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Wade.
Well, we appreciate your time, and we look forward to continuing this relationship for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next on the agenda, we've got the superintendent report from Mr. Carmela.
So I want to hear what Carl's going to say, if anything, about this.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Well, it's super month of May. That's our busy month. That's the month we kick off our park system. And so with that being said, we were down at Tuick Pool for the last couple of weeks, trying to really get ourselves in a place to open up for Memorial Day weekend. And we've had a few
Dude, he's like
staring.
That dude is staring them down like weirdness. This dude is a weirdo. What is the deal? Dude, if you're out there somewhere, like, get a hold of me and let me know what your deal was. This is some weird stuff. Let me know. I mean, tell me, where on the doll has the water company touched you? Or what is going on? What is this? This is like intense, bizarre body language, bro. You're probably a good dude. Like, I don't understand. Just tell me what the deal is. If something's going on to this level of weirdness, like, what is going on? Yeah. Do you need a priest? Are you okay? You've not eaten any pea soup, have you? Get a hold of me and let me know if you want to. Or maybe you hate me now that I'm talking about you. But you got some weirdness going on here, bro.
But we reached out to our...
I'm like surprised that the police were notified. That's pretty weird.
Did our pre-opening and had some challenges which delayed our pre-opening date. And then shortly after that, we received some support from our Muncie Fire Department and Muncie Sanitary District and the water company, just to kind of give us a direction on which way we should go with our valves and our pumps. And so with their cameras, we was able to at least get ourselves in a better place until we can reach back out to Bud and Barn and Moore to finally give us the direction we should go. But all that being said, we got there. And so that was the most important thing.
I don't know if dudes blinked
right now. So we're in a pretty good place. Starting at Tui's, the field rep, Vic, he returned on May 14th to complete our opening process. There again, he had a few challenges. He and I talked, went over some things that needed to happen in the chemical room, made a phone call back to the office.
Oh my God.
We were able to get some
he's following them out. Here he goes.
Today, the owner came down today and stated that those parts should be in this week. And so we should be able to get those put in place, and we should be good to go for Memorial Day weekend, as I know it.
Does anybody know if those people got home?
YMCA will be doing the water samples. They've taken one down this week already. I think they're due to do another sample tomorrow. We had a few little problems.
Is there a problem? Jackie, you were
pool.
there. There was something going on, Jackie. You were there. You're in the row. I see you. Was there a commotion going on out there? I'd like to know what's going on right now, because you see Dan and all these people are turning and looking.
That sense has been corrected as of today with the Jared Bud and Barn was there throughout the afternoon and midday. And so we seen
there go police officers.
That waiting pool is
see
and it's ready to go just as soon as we can get a second sample on on the small pool as well. Also, Bud and Bottom Moore will be providing a proposal cost for our pit, which is outdated per what they see around the state. And so they're going to be providing us with a proposal to provide to the board and then to the mayor to have conversation about what direction we go with that as well. And then next, moving on to Riverview Park, restrooms are for, as I know, is out for bids.
I thought he might
Most
have
part,
something to
is that-
say about it. All right, so for anybody that wants to listen to the rest of the park stuff, listen to the rest of the park stuff. It's there. I listen to bits and pieces of it, but we're gonna fast forward here and we're gonna listen to anything that the public might have to say.
Those items.
If the no equipment or services from the parks department.
Are you right?
Yes.
They've done this week will be 11 to 6. That's also the launch hours. So we do have.
Okay, here we go.
Help assist them trying to find a capable person moving the parks in the
Discussion on the event.
200 people will be there.
Yes.
Approximately.
And those MPD security, right?
Yes.
They've done this before, something similar, right? Before?
Yes.
Yeah.
repost the notice and then start getting someone moving in that direction. So that should be
all right. Thank you, Jack.
In support of that, of us going in that direction. And I think we're ready. Nikki and I are ready to start help assist them trying to find a capable person moving the parks in the right direction.
I know, Nikki, you've done a great job picking up the pieces here and working through that. But I assume Nikki's going to have a vacation days at some point. So we got to.
Yeah, she's actually really done an outstanding job in the office, manning all the other duties and then the summer work program.
So it's May. We're starting to get a lot more traffic. We had a couple large events over the weekend. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from that. We had a race, had some people here never been to the reservoir before. They said that they'll definitely be coming back. They didn't know we had such a beautiful place out there. This weekend, the beach is going to open. That's going to be on Saturday. It'll be from 11 to 7. Friday and Saturday will be open from 11 to 7. The rest of the week will be 11 to 6. That's also the launch hours. So we do have the launch open 7 days a week now.
I want to remind everybody, and this is something that a lot of people have issues with, but I guess I understand. Look, I guess I could see it. It's like I could see it both ways. The Muncie City pool, Tui Pool, and the reservoir beach area will not be open any day this year, this summer, when the temperature does not reach 70 degrees. So if the temperature is not supposed to reach 70, or it's like definitely not going to reach 70, the pool and the beach will be closed. And I could, it's a horse apiece for me on that one. But there's more to this water story, so stay tight.
Hired. I do have a part-time security position that could pick up a few extra hours that aren't filled. We could hire for that if anybody's interested. But we do have security pretty much from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. Most days through the weekend on the weekends. So
go out there at 5:30.
They're doing a very good job. They're not letting anything really go past. They're not picking and choosing who they're going to enforce them to. They are doing an amazing job. I don't know if everybody has that PCR security phone number, but they can call the office and have that. We have it posted all around the park and non-dispatch. There are some things our security you'd want to call police before our security in certain situations.
If you're being
you do call our
murdered,
security, it's just gonna, it's gonna have the police come in just a little bit later because that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna call police if that's what's needed. All the boats are in. If you have any issues with any boards, call us. We'll get a work order in, and the maintenance team will get that taken care of. This weekend, we also have the Catfish Pirates event. That's going to be a pretty big event. They've done it every year, but this year we're working with Wesley Miller. We're going to have fire trucks.
Already been discussed. I think, Carl, you're probably up on this, but I'll kind of buzz through these. West Side Skate Park, we talked about that.
The fire hoses and extend it. They were.
Excellent. Well, that was going to be my next question. Is I know we've had several contracts bouncing around here between the board and between Carl and the legal team. Open comments.
Here we go.
Lastly, I do know we've got a few names on the public input. And
I have 4.
all right.
First one, candle's going out, so it looks like Jackie Fisher.
As mentioned, try to keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes, please.
My name's Jackie Fisher, and I actually.
Hey, it's Jackie Fisher.
Someone.
Cough.
Oh, am I too loud?
No, you're good.
You're good.
I actually live out southeast Delaware County near the reservoir, but my daughter lives here in Muncie. But I'm a regular viewer of Parks and Recreation Board, City Council, etc. One of the things I wanted to kind of bring up, I know the mayor had announced an agreement with Ball State, going to add a 10th park there on Anthony and Oakwood. And my understanding it was MRC paid for the implementation. But my concern is ongoing maintenance and repairs and things that can be needed. Is the Parks Board, I think it was when the pool was getting ready to be open, Carl mentioned about needing to buy a sweeper and the budget was tight. So I don't know, is this a time where the board needs to go and ask for more money for the next year planning to cover needs, for adding parks? That's going to increase maintenance and cost. That was a concern I had.
Good question,
And then
Jackie.
also, I drove by the East Sports Complex. I know previous Carl talked about moving lights into Muncie to different other park areas. Seems like there's still more lights out there, so I don't know what the plan is for bringing the rest of the lights, or were we just a number of
Where?
that we're bringing?
I think you've got all the ones you needed, didn't you, Carl? And
So it wasn't.
Where,
Oh,
Jackie?
yep, so I think we've reclaimed most of it, and if not, the rest is still in progress.
So it wasn't to bring all the lights into
Correct.
Muncie. Okay.
Correct.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Daniel Fogel.
Good evening. This is my first time ever being here. I just moved to this area this last August. I live next to the reservoir as well, and this is very eye-opening to see the presentation that I did earlier. I'm just I had just a couple little questions. I'm not sure if maybe it should be as a side note, maybe some of you off afterwards or maybe here, but do any of you actually live near the reservoir, and how does this actually work with conjunction with the water company itself? And the third thing would be is I was told by Mr. Henderson, because I am a resident and I live basically a stone throw away from the reservoir, that for those meetings that he said that he wanted to have with you guys when it comes to future endeavors with the park, that I could be a part of, who would be my POC for that?
It sounds like if you've already spoken to Mr. Henderson, that's probably the best contact. We're kind of on the front end of this as well, working through. This is last month or so has been the most communication we've had with the water company in a while. So this is a growing partnership, and certainly want to make it the best for the parks and the city and the residents that we can. Probably not the best answer you want to hear today, but
Hey, I'm like I said earlier, I'm just learning. I haven't even been here a year yet, so just still kind of getting my feet wet and stuff of that nature. And I've been to many of these meetings before. I'm a former fire chief in the South and for the county, well, not for the city. So I understand the concept of how these things work. By any chance, do any of you actually live near the reservoir? No?
Well, I'm not too far from it, but
Fair enough. And my last question that I have, I know time is short, is if the city is in partnership with the Indiana American Water owns the reservoir, but Muncie City, the city of Muncie has access to it, from my understanding, is the police, fire, rescue, and any type of EMT or medical, does that come from the city as well, or is that from the county?
yes.
It's all
That has been a
Muncie,
challenge.
City of Muncie,
and there's
but-
some shared coverage out there. And it has been a challenge for us. That's why we've added
Yeah,
additional
I get you
security,
now, Jackie.
detail
I figured
through the
that's what
Prairie
you
Creek
meant.
is to try to provide additional coverage outside of
So all of the above.
outside of the county and the city.
Fair enough. That's all I had. Thank you
And
so
the
much.
other DNR is also involved as well. So that's the other layer of security that's involved on the water.
My last thing, that's not a question, would be a statement, is being a resident there. I have family members, and as it's been well documented over the last 10 years of what Flint, Michigan has had to deal with when it comes to their water source. And I have, I have family members that used to live in that area. And it would be my strong urging to heed what that gentleman had to say earlier today. I understand some people's feelings and emotions might get hurt if you were to take away some of the campsites to lower whatever the case may be, but your water source is much more important than people's enjoyment of that reservoir. So, and as a resident of that area, I find it pretty concerning as well. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Here, here.
Thank you.
I do want to say, if I may,
Yes.
it sounded like the water company was pretty open to hear what the residents had to say. So that probably leaves it a little open for you to give your input to them.
Next.
I'm not sure if this is Larry Potty or
They're Larry. Larry?
the pin's going out. So
No, Larry? Gary? Anybody sign up?
I signed it, but I'm not gonna call.
Okay. Anybody else on the list?
everything but. I'm like, yeah, I have an appointment Saturday.
Is that all the names we got on the list, Nikki? I think we can open the floor for a few other public comments. I know we've had a lot of discussion. Anybody else from the public?
This is a big one.
And we will need your name either before or after for the record, so you can sign that.
Good evening. My name is Greg Wilkins. I live out in southeast Delaware County. I'm currently the president of the Muncie Light Horse Club. So I was taken a little aback by the water company presentation this evening. I guess I didn't know much about what was being discussed. I know he mentioned that maybe they got the impression that the trails were unauthorized or they were just put in, but this park board authorized those trails on April 17th of 1990. Superintendent Ron Bonham, the Muncie Light Horse Club worked extensively with the park board back then to get the trail started. In that day, you had 4x4 trucks just running amok out there. And with the advent of the trails, that all stopped. I mean, we actually improved that area out there. I know that he sounds pretty adamant about that, but I didn't want him to think that, we just started riding horses out there. Just in the last year and a half, the Horse Club, which is a 501c3 not-for-profit, has put over $12,000 into the Prairie Creek Trails through Ball Foundation grant, a grant through Midwest Equine Trail Foundation. We partnered with Prairie Creek and the club and put over $1,500 in updating the trail signs out there, as well as some of the other work. The Ball Foundation grant alone eliminated invasive species along the edges of the trails to make them safe and rideable. So it's not, these trails have been out there for over 30 years. And like they said, they've not been very involved out there, and now they are. I don't know what his objections are to having horse trails on that side of the reservoir. He did mention the drinking water reservoir, but all across the state of Indiana, there are horse trails along other bodies of water, and they even cross the water. So
that is
like
true,
I said,
but it sounds like it's stopping
I didn't know this was going
January
to happen. I would think that there are going to be further discussions with the water company on what you guys are going to be doing. I would hope that maybe the horse club, a representative such as myself, could be involved with those discussions to see if either there's things they don't like about the horse trail that can be improved.
I will tell you, I do feel a little bothered by the fact that the water company left and did not stick around for the citizens to hear this. I mean, I liked what the guy had to say as far as being open and willing, but then to leave before the citizens speak is kind of telling to me. I mean, that's kind of strange, So that's number one. Jackie says no one came from the Friends of Prairie Creek to address the board. And I get the feeling that not a lot of people knew this was what exactly was going to happen. So I think that there will be a lot of people that will be at the next month's meeting. I think next month's meeting will be very telling. But again, I wish someone from the American Water would have stuck around and listened to the citizens' concerns. That's that.
Approved, and go from there. So, did you have any questions for me about Prairie Creek horse trails?
Questions for Greg? I don't think so at this time. Thank you, Greg. As we kind of mentioned a couple times here, this is new discussion here within the last 6 months or so about Prairie Creek and the Indiana water involvement. There's only the two initiatives right now that they've put in place. Certainly sounds like there may be more in the future, and things could change and move as the further resources and discussions go on.
Okay.
I'm glad they were here. Certainly they were not obligated to come and make a presentation to us at all. It could have been an email or a notice. So I'd appreciate them coming in and having the open discussion and be willing to meet with us. But I want to continue to work with you guys in some format, and what that looks like, I don't know at this time. but certainly appreciate all the work you guys have done out
Yeah.
there.
Can I leave you my information so that you might contact?
I will say, for the record, there have been grant monies that have been used out there with this horse people, with these horse people. And it's going to be interesting to see, because if these horse trails are not going to be permitted to be used in the manner that they currently are, and if something changes, we could be in a situation where somebody could be very responsible for possibly having to repay. I'm not saying that's 100%. I'm not saying that, maybe it won't happen. Maybe they'll understand. Maybe it's not a big deal. Maybe there's some other way to work it out. I'm just saying, generally, when you have grant money and you put grant money towards something, and then if something changes or whatever, that is or could be a potential issue. So this is something that we can't. And again, I want to say, as I said at the very beginning of this, I am all for, and my number one priority is making sure that we have clean, drinkable, safe water for all of us to drink. That you don't understand what a concern that is of mine. So I am there. I'm also all in favor of using Prairie Creek to whatever possibility we can use it as long as the number one thing is our use does not run counter to clean water. So I'm just hoping that we can have everybody at the table, because as Jackie said early on, a lot of these groups, even the ATV people, even the campers that have taken time to cut down the trails and stuff and did the Halloween trails and all that, a lot of those people have done a lot of hard work to try to clean up and conserve around the Prairie Creek. There are idiots, there are assholes, there are thieves, there are drug addicts. There are people willing to take advantage. There are people that go out there and dump and spill and do dumb shit. Everything you do in life is going to have those people involved. Those people walk among us. We can't just put them in a fence someplace. We can't put them in a hole someplace. So they're going to be out there. But for the most part, people have tried to do a good thing out here. And I just don't want those people to be overlooked. But again, I don't want those people to be overlooked up until the point where it's contaminating our water, and then overlook them as much as you need to. Clean water has to be a priority.
Contact me.
Yep, leave it with Nikki, and then that way she can share with the board, and we can keep in contact there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
We appreciate you coming.
Thanks.
Yeah, Stumblefoot,
Any other
that's
public
not that
comments?
hard to do. It's pretty easy. They should be
Seeing
able to
none,
do
any
that.
other board discussion? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So that's the end of that. We are still very early in this. I want to say there are thoughts and concerns about money that's missing out there. I know there are rumors about things that maybe Dustin Clark has done that he's been involved with out there. I'm still looking at that. One of those 10 or 15 items I was telling you I was working on at the beginning, Dustin Clark is up there, keeping an eye on Hoosier municipalities or whatever. That's something that we're doing. And I am looking into the $70,000. There are some rumors about a $70,000 amount that's just poof, up and missing. It's all rumors right now. I'm in the process of running this all down. Like the Gaston thing and like everything else I say, if you're out there, if you have rumors, if you have information, get it to me. And I'm gonna caution you and say, just because you bring me something does not mean that you're going to tune in that night and I'm going to be talking about it. It doesn't mean you're going to give me something I'm going to talk about it a month from now. What you give me, I have to be here's the rules. The rules are always, I don't burn people. I don't use your name. But if you want me to put something out without verifying it, I have to use your name because it can't go under mine. I can only say things that are verifiable or that are true, that we're able to ferret out. So if you want to give me information and you want to remain unnamed, then you give me the information, and as soon as I can verify it or figure it out and make sure it works, I'll run with it. But other than that, that's the deal. So continue giving me information, continue hitting me up. Try to make sure it's not just, I heard it from a friend who heard it from another type of deal. Make sure that it's actual, verifiable, and give me as much information to it as you can. I am looking into this. I am going to work on this. I'm going to be issuing some record requests. I said tomorrow. Tomorrow's out. I'll do it on Tuesday. But I have a couple record requests as related to this. So we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to be working on. It's going to be a busy summer. And by the time we know it, we're going to turn around and it's going to be time to be talking about 2026 elections. So we got a lot to cover this summer. Tune in here Sunday through Thursday. As always, Sunday through Thursday, 5 nights a week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe. You want to definitely make sure that you subscribe. If you haven't, does not cost you a damn thing. You can subscribe. Make sure if you subscribe that you click the bell. That way you get notified when we release shorts, when I leave information on the community written thing of YouTube, and when we release static videos, or when we go live on a Saturday as a makeup or a Friday as a makeup. So you guys take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of this weekend. Have a great Memorial Day tomorrow, whatever you're going to go do. Muncie's having some stuff at 11 a.m. I might go check some of that stuff out. We will be back here tomorrow night, Monday. What is tomorrow? Monday the 26th. We will be back. You guys take care. God bless. Have a great evening. Happy Memorial Day. We will see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.